about the Major Arcana, the 22 cards of the Book of Thoth. It's an awesome undertaking trying to discuss and analyse the 22 major cards, because they cover just an incredible amount of information and knowledge about tarot, magic, mysticism, esoteric lore. You have to know philosophy, you have to know mythology, you have to know that the Book of Thoth, the roots of the Book of Thoth come from the Golden Dawn system, which means you have to know about rituals, you have to know about magic, you have to know about divination, there's the spiritual aspects, you have to know Kabbalism. It's pretty much a lifetime's work. So for this introduction to the Major Arcana, I'm going to focus more on the kind of general aspects of what each card is about and how it fits in with the whole. So we're going to start with the full, but before we do that, I just want to go through a few pointers about the Major Arcana. So here's the full card here, and what's important about this card is that it gives you some basic attributions to start with. Along the bottom is the name, the full, and then on the left hand side, and this is true for all the Major Arcana, you have the Hebrew letter associated with that card, in this case Aleph, and on the right hand side you have the elemental or astrological attributions of that card as well, and in this case it's an upward triangle which represents air. And on the top of the card you have a number, which is, in the case of the full, it is 0. Now, that information, the elements and the Hebrew letter, is something that you don't find on the Rider-Waite deck, because A-Waite basically never tells you anything. He doesn't tell you the astrological attributions, he doesn't tell you the elements. If you don't know those things, how can you make predictions? Because if you don't know a card is to do with, say, Taurus, you wouldn't know that that card can represent events happening in May, which is when the Sun sign of Taurus is. So I'm going to go through some of these attributes of each card, and this really is just an introduction. I've thought about this a lot, how to do it, and I've ended up kind of doing a kind of pictorial thing about what the cards mean and all these sort of things. I have to mention, this is the book you really need, the Book of Thoth. It just almost kind of tells you just how much you need to know about so many things. Mathematics is in there as well. There is another book that's useful, is Lon Duquette's An Understanding Aristocrati's Thoth Tarot. It's a patronising book, because Lon basically turns this book into a similar version of A-Waite's books, as a way of kind of telling you this is all you need to know. He says an authoritative, well, it is an, the indefinite article, and it kind of chops it up into nice little bits so that you think you've got what you've got, and actually you haven't. Crowley doesn't treat the reader like an idiot, on the other hand, and his book, he makes the information difficult to find. So this is a quick sort of go through of where to find things in the Book of Thoth. The first thing is you really do need to look at the contents pages at the beginning, and one of the first things you notice is that the full card has a section to itself. Okay, it's quite extraordinary. All the other Major Arcana have just one kind of section. The full card has a whole section to itself as well. Now, the descriptions of the Major Arcana, he doesn't actually tell you the meanings of the cards. He reserves this for, you have to go to the back, and it's called In the Air. It's on page 253, and it's the general characters of the trumps as they appear in use. And what he does, he gives a kind of a versification, if you like, and then he gives a kind of interpretation of the cards as well, you see. What he also does, which is very useful, is he has the thing on page 219, which is the art of mnemonics. And so I'll give you a kind of example of how the mnemonics works. And this kind of is a way of helping you remember the meanings of the cards. So this is for the full card. Truth, laughter, lust, wine's holy fool, veil rent, lewd madness is sublime enlightenment. And for the magician, the word of wisdom weaves the web of lies, webs irreducible, infinitize. It's kind of interesting, our webs and things there, because it's almost like the World Wide Web itself. And just as this is the final one, just a High Priestess card. Mother, moon maiden, playmate, bride of Pan, God's angel minister to every man. Now, these are all, it just shows you that he's just not looking at a simple kind of meaning of the card, the four means new start, new beginnings, which is very much the way I often read the cards myself, actually. So there's all these, I'm just trying to give you a taste of where you can take the tarot with your own studies and learning. And it is a lifetime's experience. It doesn't end. And basically, what is the tarot, particularly the Major Arcana? They're an initiated viewpoint of the entire magical, esoteric, spiritual system of the universe. And that's the reason why the OTO and the Golden Dawn don't really like tarot readers to know about this stuff. They'd rather keep us ignorant. And that's why you have that book. So, have this book because it tells you what they don't want you to know. And then read this book, which tells you the things that really are useful to know. Now, it doesn't spoon feed you, but by golly, it gives you clues in there as to where to find the nuggets of pure gold.